On the broadcast tonight, an 8.2 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Chile sends waves crashing into coastal towns, leaving 5 dead and others injured. It sparked tsunami warnings throughout the Pacific. The nation's presidential office believes the unmanned drone that crashed on a frontline South Korean island was flown by North Korea. And the U.S. government more than doubles the number of suspected Japanese war criminals who were banned from entering the country. Early edition begins now.
당신의 유럽은 어디였나요?
Excellence in flight. Korean Air.
It is 6 a.m. in Iquique, Chile, 10 in London, and 6 on a Wednesday evening here in Seoul. Welcome to Early Edition at 6. I'm Moon Gon-young.
I'm Daniel Chen. Thank you for joining us. The aftermath of a natural disaster, that's our starting point today.
Right, the Chilean earthquake and subsequent tsunami is our top story. The death toll has risen since the initial 8.2 magnitude quake Tuesday evening local time, and a tsunami warning has been extended throughout the Pacific.
For more, let's go live to our Shin Se-min for the latest developments. Also, Se-min, can you give us the most recent updates?
Yes, at least 5 people were killed and several others severely injured in Chile following that strong 8.2 magnitude earthquake that struck off the coast of northern Chile Tuesday evening local time. The U.S. Geographical Survey said the quake centered 98 kilometers northwest of the Chilean mining port of Iquique, 20 kilometers deep in the Pacific Ocean at 8:46 in the evening. The Chilean president has declared 3 northern regions hit by the quake as a disaster areas. And however, there is also a degree of relief in the country as the death toll is relatively low, considering the strength of the earthquake. And it has been about 9 hours as of now since the quake occurred, and all the tsunami warnings, alerts, and watches for Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and Panama have been lifted. And as of now, alerts are in effect in Chile and Peru. Waves of up to 2.1 meters were reported earlier in some areas. And still, power is out for thousands of local residents in Chile, and some roads have been cut off due to the landslides. Panicked residents ran out into the streets as soon as the authorities ordered them to flee to higher ground level because of the tsunami threat. And in the hours since the earthquake, multiple aftershocks have rattled the region, including at least one in the magnitude of 6 range.
Now, Se-min, the tsunami threat isn't just reserved for South and Central America. What is this that we're hearing about a possible impact on the Korean peninsula?
That's right. Japanese Meteorological Agency warned that high waves triggered by the quake in Chile could reach Japan by early tomorrow morning. Here in Korea, the agency expects that the eastern coastal regions will see the effects Thursday morning and the southern and western coast in the afternoon. And with that said, the Japanese agency doesn't yet know how big the waves will be. Guys?
Well, they say relatively smaller, damages considering how big it was, but still, it is a very unfortunate event, and of course, we will feel the impact and the aftermath of that around the world. That was Shin Se-min reporting on the ongoing crisis in Chile. Thank you for that, Se-min, and we will bring you more updates as the story develops.
Now, on a different note, it's becoming increasingly apparent that the unidentified drone that crashed into one of South Korea's border islands earlier this week came from North Korea.
That's right. The drone is suspected to have taken photos of Seoul, Baekneungdo Island, and even the presidential office. Our Kim Young-gil has more.
Early investigations show the unmanned drone that crashed into a South Korean border island on Monday is from North Korea. The presidential office of Cheongwade presumes the unmanned vehicle to be from the north, as it was found after North Korea fired scores of artillery shells in the waters south of the northern limit line as part of a live-fire military drill. South Korea's defense ministry is continuing its analysis of the drone and is devising contingency plans to shore up the country's air defense. Military and intelligence officials are known to have concluded that the drones were assembled and developed in North Korea for reconnaissance purposes and was flown in from the north. The light blue drone was found on Baekneungdo Island just south of the disputed Western Sea border between the two Koreas. The drone is 183 centimeters long, almost 2.5 meters wide, and weighs around 12.7 kilograms. There was also a small digital camera installed on its body.
Drones can be used for reconnaissance missions with cameras attached. If the unmanned vehicle is loaded with explosives, it can also be used to bomb targets.
U.S. experts analyzed several photos of the drone's wreckage that were published in South Korean media and said the drone appears to be well past its prime and could even be considered an antique. Military and intelligence authorities say the unmanned vehicle is known to be similar to another drone that was collected from Paju City in Gyeonggi-do Province, south of the demilitarized zone on March 24th. South Korea's military intelligence authorities are collaborating on the investigation. Kim Young-kit, Arirang News.
And a key U.S. official on Asia is criticizing China for sticking to its tried and tested but ultimately unsuccessful policy of dealing with North Korea. He says Beijing needs to use its influence to push Pyongyang towards denuclearization. And this comes as North Korean leader Kim Jong-un continues to talk tough against the United States. Arirang News' Yurian has the details.
The United States top point man on Asia says China is still struggling to set a clear priority in terms of its strategy towards North Korea. Speaking during a conference call hosted by the Asia Society, Daniel Russell, the Assistant Secretary of State for East Asian and Pacific Affairs, laid out two contradicting imperatives faced by Beijing. One is the maintenance of stability on its border, and the other, ending North Korea's quest for nuclear weapons capability. He added that while China continues to hold on to its coaxing tactics towards Pyongyang that proved to be futile, he said Chinese leaders are starting to realize that they need to put China's own national security interest in ending the nuclear program above anything else. The veteran diplomat then urged Pyongyang's traditional ally to take further steps to convince North Korea towards denuclearization. The comments come as North Korea continues to ramp up its anti-U.S. rhetoric. Speaking in front of the commanders of the North Korean People's Army on Tuesday, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un accused the United States of ignoring its good intentions and generosity, and of trying instead to annihilate and isolate the country and crush it by using military force. Kim added he would not accept the U.S. policy towards his country and demolish it completely. Pundits expect Pyongyang to carry out more provocations this month as it's set to celebrate the birthday of late national founder Kim Il-sung and the foundation of the North Korean military. U.S. President Barack Obama is also set to visit South Korea at the end of the month. Yurian, Arirang News.
In a move sure to sour already strained Korea-Japan relations, the Japanese government is expected to announce changes to school textbooks this week that will bolster claims to Korea-controlled Dokdo Island.
And there's more. There are also new whispers that the Shinzo Abe administration may backtrack on its landmark apology to the victims of Japan's wartime sexual enslavement, despite pledging otherwise earlier. Our Hwang Sung-hee reports.
Diplomatic sources in Seoul said Wednesday that Japan's education ministry will convene a meeting on Friday to release the screening results of its elementary school textbooks. The revised versions are expected to carry stronger claims over Korea's Dokdo Island. The island, which is physically closer to Korea in the body of water that divides the Korean peninsula and Japan, has long been a thorn in bilateral relations. The Japanese government initially planned to unveil the new textbooks last month, but postponed it ahead of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's first official meeting with President Park Geun-hye in The Hague to demonstrate Japan's sincerity to mend ties with Korea. But that sincerity is now once again in question. Ahead of his meeting with President Park, Abe pledged to uphold a landmark apology to victims of Japan's wartime sexual enslavement. But Japanese opposition lawmaker Tatsuki Eda said at a seminar in Washington, D.C. Tuesday that the Abe administration still intends to review the Kono statement and issue a revised version sometime next year. Eda, who expressed concern about the move, added the new statement would contain Japan's official stance on war and draw international attention. The Japanese government reiterated Tuesday it does not plan on revising the existing apology, but that it will verify the way in which the statement was composed. While Korea and Japan were expected to hold working-level talks on the so-called comfort women issue this month, the chances of such a meeting taking place now appear slim. 황정희, Arirang News.
Staying on the topic, the United States has confirmed that 35 Japanese war criminals are currently banned from entering the U.S. That's more than double from the 16 previously reported. U.S. Justice Department spokesman Peter Carr provided new figures in an interview with Korea's Yonhap News Agency, although he declined to give any more details about those who are on the list. Sources say roughly 20 of the individuals belong to Army Unit 731, which carried out brutal and lethal experiments on human beings during World War II. Most of the others were related to the establishment of comfort stations or military facilities where women were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military. The list of Japanese war criminals banned from entering the U.S. was first established back in 1996.
Hundreds of thousands of women were
We're all destroyed.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online. Connecting you with experts on the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best with Moon Gon-young and Daniel Che on Early Edition at 6.
Proposal for talks on holding regular reunions for families separated by the Korean War. Their reason.
And there is yet another movement towards a reunification. South Korea and the United Kingdom have agreed to enhance their bilateral cooperation in the financial sector.
During the talks in London, officials also discussed ways to finance funding for Korea's reunification when it happens. Our Song Ji-sun has the details.
Senior financial officials from South Korea and the United Kingdom gathered in London Tuesday to strengthen the two countries' financial ties. Chaired by the chief of Korea's Financial Services Commission, Shin Jae-yoon, and Lord Mayor of the City of London, Fiona Wolf, officials from Seoul also suggested channeling loans from international financial institutions to help North Korea prepping for reunification in the future.
It's crucial to secure enough funding for the construction of highways, ports, factories, and energy infrastructure in North Korea when the two Koreas unite. We need cooperation for the international financial community to ask for loans for those projects.
The forum was a follow-up to President Park Geun-hye's state visit to Britain last year. The two countries also pledged to seek new investment opportunities by jointly exploring the Asian and African markets.
Providing us with the opportunity to share best practice and also seek to consider how we can cooperate on financing infrastructure into third countries.
Both sides also share their views on consumer financial protection and financial supervision, along with turning Seoul into a trading hub for Chinese yuan to take full advantage of Korea's geographical location. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
There are now exactly 200 days to go until Korea opens one of the world's largest conferences on information and communications technologies. The UN-affiliated International Telecommunications Union Plenipotentiary Conference will take place in Korea's southern port city of Busan come this October. Now, the Science and ICT Ministry, which is organizing the three-week event, says around 150 ministerial-level officials from nearly 200 member countries will attend. Officials will focus on promoting international cooperation on technology development with Korea, putting an extra emphasis on sharing knowledge about how to converge ICT with other industries. The ICT Ministry is also confident that the event will generate more than $650 million worth of economic impact by attracting some 3,000 participants and 300,000 additional tourists.
In local politics, where there's never a dull moment, the co-leader of New Politics Alliance for Democracy has proposed an inter-Korean summit and sending a South Korean delegation to Pyongyang if needed to improve ties between the two Koreas. In an address to the National Assembly on Wednesday, An Cheol-soo said the summit should be viewed by the Park Geun-hye administration as a step toward reunification after gaining support from the public. With regard to improving the livelihoods of the people, the co-chief suggested holding meetings with the ruling party every first week of the month. An, however, also took a swipe at President Park Geun-hye's reform drive. He said her steps to remove excessive regulations on business activity should be done with more caution. And now a fresh reminder that the nation's snowballing debt problem is only becoming more serious. The country's household, government, and corporate debt, all put together, amounted to over $3.5 trillion as of the end of last year, almost 3 times larger than the total scale of the nation's economy. The Bank of Korea said Wednesday that the ratio of the debt to the nation's GDP stood at 265%. The figure has been on a steady rise since 2004 and spiking in 2008 to around 250% when the nation was hit by the global financial crisis.
You know, when it comes to innovative ideas, Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute is without competition.
And for the 3rd straight year, the institute was ranked the world #1 innovation center by a U.S.-based research institute, beating a lot of bigwigs from the West. Our Na Young-kyung tells us more.
One of the world's leading business patent databases, IPIQ, says Korea's Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute has maintained its status as the #1 innovation center in the world. That's among some 300 government agencies, institutions, and universities around the globe, assessed by the IPIQ for their innovation drive and ability to collaborate with other organizations.
They've outperformed the competition on developing patents around the hottest technologies in the space right now. We call it innovation cycle time, and ETRI is winning in this area by producing patents in some of the most relevant, hottest sectors.
The state-run ETRI, based in Daejeon, took the top spot this year with a patent count of nearly 900. That total is 85% higher than that of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the second-best organization on the scorecard. Aside from ETRI, the only non-American organization in the top 10 was Taiwan's Industrial Technology Research Institute. The ETRI has earned patent royalties totaling around 160 billion won, or roughly $150 million over the past 5 years, chief among them being patents related to the 3G mobile telecommunications technology. The Science and ICT Ministry says ETRI's achievements are a testimony to Korea's information and communications technology prowess and proof that the country can succeed in building a creative economy, President Park Geun-hye's key administrative goal. A government official added that it will continue to help the institute focus more on the quality of Korea's patents from now on. Na Hyun-kyung, Arirang News.
You know, we knew it was happening and we knew it was bad for us, but a UN panel has sounded a new alarm about the long-term effects of climate change on humans and, of course, planet Earth.
There's no more of delaying the inevitable. The alarm has never been louder. To tell us more about what the UN report says and how the changes it predicts will impact us here in Korea as well, our Park Ji-won joins us in the studio. Hello there, Ji-won.
Hi guys, the report comes from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, a leading international organization for the assessment of climate change. Well, the report, adopted last week in Japan, has more than 300 authors and over 1,700 expert reviewers from about 70 countries. Titled Climate Change 2014 Impacts, Adaptation, and Vulnerability, it's the second of a 3-part report. It's by far the most comprehensive assessment ever of the impacts of all climate change.
So, Ji-won, what are the takeaways from this report?
Well, first and foremost, the report says climate change is already affecting the people, societies, and ecosystems. And they say in many respects, we are now ready to such change that's going to come next. So the report, a previous report that was adopted in 2007 was more focused on the scientific analysis of climate change, and this one is more on identifying risk factors. For example, it says rising sea levels could have devastating effects on low-lying coastal areas, and that extreme weather events could lead to breakdowns in infrastructure networks, electricity, and water supply systems. Well, there could be the food insecurity, insufficient access to drinking and irrigation water, and a general loss of coastal ecosystems and biodiversity. The report says the challenges will be especially pronounced for the least developed countries and vulnerable communities.
Well, you know, Korea actually has been somewhat up there in terms of being a model country, leading more green, conscious, future-oriented movements. I mean, we recycle. We don't just dump things, you know, chuck it into the dumpster chute like in some countries. We don't have the convenience anymore, just pointing out some little things there. But I guess it's inevitable. We will have to face some of the impact that will come from global warming. How will it affect us here in Korea and, of course, Northeast Asia? Sorry for cutting you there.
No, I'm okay. Well, so to answer that question, let's take a look at a map for a better idea about the impact of climate change. Well, this is from the report. The symbols on the map represent dangers posed to each geographic area. For example, near the Korean Peninsula, we circled that with a yellow circle. We see the fish symbol. Well, that means marine ecosystems in the region are already being affected by climate change. Well, Asia in general is looking at three major risk factors, as we can see from the map. The tree-shaped mark represents a threat to terrestrial ecosystems like deforestation and a distribution shift of plants and animal species in the region. The water drop symbols in north-central China region show that climate change is leading to reduced soil moisture and surface water degradation. However, we have to note that this map was drawn up based on previous studies. So if there's no mark in some areas, it doesn't mean they're safe from the impacts of climate change. It just means that there are not enough data yet to make an accurate assessment.
So, you know, according to that map, Jiwon, there is, you know, essentially no part or no corner of the globe that's not affected by this global climate change. It's interesting yet very awakening. Now, I'd like to know how experts are viewing this report. What do they think about this?
So I interviewed two researchers who participated in last week's Yokohama session. So let's listen to what they had to say.
While the previous report in 2007 made clear that the risks from climate change exist, this fifth assessment report identifies specific risk factors posed by climate change and how much room is left for the human race to adapt to such risks. I think the sixth assessment report will focus on how we should respond to the risks and what the stumbling blocks may be.
In terms of public health, this fifth report says with a high level of confidence that climate change aggravates already existing health problems. So far, health has been somewhat of an individual matter that needs to be taken care of on its own. But the health risks stemming from climate change now require national level solutions, since climate change poses health risks beyond just the individual level.
So I guess what's important is what we do and where we go from here. What's the Korean government doing right now to address these global environmental issues, Yuan?
So I've talked to an expert, and let's take a look.
The government has voluntarily set the goal of reducing the nation's greenhouse gas emissions by 30%. Compared to the business as usual scenario by 2020. And to that end, the government also has put in place such measures as a target management scheme and also renewable portfolio standard. Despite all this effort, I think the goal of reducing emissions 30% relative to BAU by 2020 looks far-fetched. I think the government should shift its energy policy to demand-driven policy from supply-driven one. And I think that can actually be a cost-effective way of reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Oh, and before I go, I'd like to show one of the figures taken from the report. Well, it shows two very different trajectories in the overall temperatures of the Earth over the next century. Well, if appropriate preventive measures are taken, temperatures will rise only within the 2 degrees Celsius level by the 22nd century. However, if we fail to restrict gas emissions, the projection rises significantly, even more than 4 degrees. Well, hope still remains, and the window of opportunity is still open, but it's closing. So the decisions and pathways that the global community take from now on will change the future of the Earth.
Definitely. Something needs to be done right now and very quickly.
Well, Ji-won, thank you for coming in. That was our Park Ji-won reporting on the latest from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
Well, it was another unseasonably warm day today, and lots of people are using the chance to get out of the house and enjoy the weather. So let's check in with our Michelle Park for more details. Michelle.
Good evening. Lots of people are making plans to visit the cherry blossom festivals in Yeouido, which starts tomorrow, but make sure you check out the traffic control sections ahead of time at www.spatic.go.kr because many roads will be closed for the festival. Now, you'll also want to check out the weather conditions. There is chances of rain on Thursday, and after the rain passes, cold air and windy conditions are expected to move in, which will bring down the temperatures. Now, going over to our readings, Seoul tops out at 9 degrees in the morning and gets up to 14 in the afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Daegu and Busan will get up to 22 and 19 degrees. Now, moving over to other regions, Jeju Island can expect it up to 17 degrees, while Dokdo peaks 14, while Mount Gumgam tops out at 5. Well, that's all for now. I'm Michelle Park, and back to you guys.
Thanks for that, Michelle. And that brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. For our viewers in Korea, have a wonderful rest of the evening.
And a great start of the day to those of you in other parts of the world.
This has been Daniel Choi.
And I'm Moon Gan-young. We hope to see you right back here same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.